Good morning, Elmira Baptist Church. I'm glad that you're with me for our weekly update. It's November 2nd, 2023. It's already November. Roy and I were just talking about that. Boy, life is just going by so quickly. It's already a new month. It's a big month for us. We have our Thanksgiving banquet on the 12th. We'll talk more about that. And then, of course, Thanksgiving Day this month, and then right into the Christmas season. So I hope that you are excited about what God's going to do here the last 2 months of 2023. Isaiah 6:8 says this, "Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then said I, Here am I, send me." The quote of the day comes from Edmund Burke. I'm sure you've heard it before. He said this, quote, "The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing." Let me say that again. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. This coming Sunday, our Sunday school hour begins at 9:45, and Scotty will continue his study through the book of Colossians. And Jesse also has an adult Bible study class during the same time. He's going through the book of 2 Peter. You don't want to miss it. We'll have classes for all the kids as well. Have a nursery. Anyone. I used to say from 0 to 99, but we even have people that come that are 101 to the Sunday school hour, so you be there as well. On Sunday morning, you might need to wear a football helmet, crash helmet to church, because we're going to meet with God, and that's a serious thing. If you want to prepare your heart, and I encourage you to do this, read Genesis chapter 4. Especially note the story there of Cain and Abel. And the sermon comes from Hebrews 11, verse 4. It talks about Abel, and we'll look at Abel in Heaven's Hall of Faith. So that's Sunday morning. Sunday night, we'll meet at 5 o'clock, and the message is about things in common. Read 2 Timothy chapter 2. 2 Timothy chapter 2, notice that there are soldiers mentioned there are athletes, and there are farmers. And then through that chapter, think to yourself, what do these three groups, soldiers, athletes, and farmers, what do these three groups have in common? And we'll preach about that on Sunday night. You'll want to hear both messages this weekend, and our goal is to live stream them. And I understand that we've recently had some difficulty with the quality of the live stream. You pray for us, and we're going to keep working on that. Here are some upcoming events. I hope you'll be praying this weekend for the men, specifically for the men that are going to the 2-minute warning. It's a men's conference. But also pray for the men who won't be going. That's this coming Friday and Saturday. So tomorrow, there'll be a group that leaves at 1:30, and then another group that leaves at 5. I need to know if you are planning to go with us at 1:30. So if that's your plan, I talked to some men this week. But if you've not talked to me about going at 1:30 and you plan to go at 1:30 with me, please let me know. The other group will leave at 5 o'clock, and that group is going to stop for a meal on the way up. So bring a little bit of cash or a card so you can pay for a meal. Come back late on Friday night, go right back up Saturday morning, 7:30 in the morning. We'll leave from here at 7:30 in the morning. Tuesday, November 7th, 9:30 in the morning, there's going to be a ladies' prayer breakfast at the Plackey House. There's a sign-up sheet for that. And then on Sunday, November 11th, Rendezvous in the Highlands for our young people. Parents, I need you to sign your young people up at wolfmountain.org. wolfmountain.org. Look for the Rendezvous in the Highlands information and register there. Sunday, November 12th, Thanksgiving Banquet Day. And we'll have more about that in a meeting this Sunday, November 5th. But November 12th begins at 4 o'clock. You've signed up for food. Have that there by 3:30, ready to go. Warm, cooked. If it's a meat, have it cut up, and we will keep it warm. We have a way to keep that warm, but we unfortunately do not have a way to cook meals there at the fire hall. So please bring your food ready to go on Sunday, November 12th. Be praying for our speaker, Dr. David Innes, will be preaching to us, and I'm looking forward to hearing him. Sunday, November 26th, is our final food and fellowship for 2023. And we'll follow that up with a praise and testimony time. And then Friday, December 1st at 10 o'clock in the morning, we invite you to come and decorate for Christmas. We'll decorate this room and some other rooms here at the church. That's Friday, December 1st. Saturday, December 9th is the Ladies' Christmas event, and Saturday, December 16th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to go out and do some caroling. And last year we had such good participation, we split up into 2 groups, had 2 separate stations, and had a great time. And we'll have a time of fellowship afterwards. That's Saturday, December 16th. Our devotional today comes from Isaiah 6. If you will be patient with me, I want to read you the first 8 verses of this chapter and think about men particularly. Think about Isaiah's response in verse 8. Who am I? Not who am I. Here am I, send me. So Isaiah 6, verses 1 through 8. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar, and he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Then said I, Here am I, send me. This passage has a vision of a holy God, followed by the response of a sinful man. But I want you to notice his response. Here am I, send me. When God calls for a man to do something, we often have our excuses, don't we? We say things like, well, I'm busy. I don't have time. And whenever I find myself saying I'm busy or I don't have time, I think in my own mind, I think, okay, what is it that's more important that's taking up my time? Because everybody has the same amount of time, frankly. We all have the same number of hours in a week. I believe it's 168 hours, 7 times 24. We all have the same number of hours in a week. It's a matter of how we use them. That's what it comes down to. So what is it that we think is more important than doing what God's asked us to do? Or people say, I'm not trained, I'm not qualified, I'm not ready. That's the purpose of this church. If you feel unqualified, unprepared to do God's will in whatever area, whether it's being a bold witness, whether it's prayer, whether it's your own personal time with God, let me encourage you. That's what this church meets. That's the reason this church meets. So you can get prepared. Our job as a church is to prepare the saints. So come on out Sunday morning, 9:45. Stay for worship at 11. Come again 5 o'clock in the evening. Come to the Bible study on Wednesdays. If you can't make it in person, tune in or listen to these sermons later. Don't use a lack of preparation as an excuse. People say, I'm tired. Now, I get I'm tired. Some of you are working hard to support your family, and because you're working hard, you are tired. That makes sense to me. Some of you mothers, boy, your job is 24/7. You never have a day off. You don't have a time where you just sit on the couch and put your feet up. I get that. Let's set those two groups aside. If you're saying I'm tired, why? Is it because you're staying up late to watch YouTube videos? I remember one time a kid who was nodding off in my class, and I saw his head kept nodding off. And, hey, I need you to stay awake. I knew his name. I didn't say, hey, I called his name. Don't want to embarrass him here on national television. Hey, stay awake. Found out later he had been up until 6 o'clock in the morning, texting with his girlfriend all night. Then fell asleep for a couple hours, had to get up and come to school. I didn't feel sorry for him that he was struggling to stay awake in class because he had mismanaged his time. Don't be tired because you're mismanaging your time. You know, sometimes people just say to me, hey, find someone else. I know what God wants me to do, but I'm not going to do it. Find somebody else. You know, God will find somebody else. And the blessings that God would like to give to you will instead flow to that person who's willing and who is obedient. We need more males at Elmira Baptist Church who will say, "Here am I, send me." Pray for that with me. Pray for the men of Elmira Baptist Church, because we have a lot of men who are just making excuses. We have a lot of men that they are setting their priorities or letting others set their priorities for them. And so their lives are a mess because they're the wrong priorities. We have too many men that are wasting their opportunities to impact the people around them, their own children, their families, their neighbors, their co-workers. We have men who are too busy, consumed with sports, consumed with their fantasy sports league. They're not doing the job. Pray for the men of Elmira Baptist Church, because Elmira Baptist Church needs more men who will say, "Here am I, Lord, send me." We need the men of Elmira Baptist Church to be men, the men that God has called us to be. Our nation needs more godly men. Our nation needs more men who will stand for righteousness. Our nation needs more men who will boldly proclaim the gospel. So pray for the men of Elmira Baptist Church to be men who say, "Here am I, send me." Do you want to know what it will take to get to the point where Elmira Baptist Church has more men who will say, "Here am I, send me"? It takes us seeing God for who he is. That's what changed Isaiah's life. If you read the first 5 chapters of Isaiah, chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I believe come chronologically before chapter 6. His message was fiery. Boy, that guy was on fire. But then after chapter 6, it's not that he wasn't on fire anymore, but his message changed. Because he had seen a holy God, and he realized, Isaiah said, "I am a man of unclean lips." And we realize that God is holy, and we see our own lack of holiness, and we receive that cleansing touch from God. We receive God's mercy, and it changes our attitude. And we say, "Here am I, send me." I'm going to change my priorities so I have time to do God's will. I'm going to manage my time so I have time to do God's will. I'm going to find out areas where I'm not prepared, where I'm not ready, and I'm going to get that training. I'm going to get that preparation so that I can do God's will. It takes commitment. And the commitment flows out of a response to a holy God. So let me encourage you to pray for the men of Elmira Baptist Church. And let me encourage you, men, to be the man that God has called you to be. In your personal life, in your home, here at Elmira Baptist Church, in our wider community, Elmira, Vacaville, Dixon, Fairfield. We need men. We need men who will say, "Here am I, send me." We need men who will be here on Sunday. We'll meet at 9:45 for Sunday school, 11 o'clock for morning worship, 5 o'clock for evening worship. And yes, it's our intention to live stream those meetings. But what better place to be than right here with God's people? I hope that I will see you on Sunday.